Like all these experiences matter. And the only reason we have them is because we were doing that wild stuff. And that's why some people are like, you guys are hypocrites. Well, you can think that if you want.
And I think people have this tell me if you feel the same way, that people think that if they get all the muscles, the size, that they're going to get all the girls. Like so many people, it's like trying to look a certain way, the aesthetics and looking this way. And I'm like, dude, every pound of muscle I increases the amount of guys who are attracted to me and the amount of compliments I get from guys, and decreases the amount of women who say anything. It did the opposite. It's like all of a sudden you just care about yourself. You're so into yourself. You pose in the mirror. Like women are interested in that. They just want a normal dude that's kind of fit. Guys, they seem to love it. I don't get a lot. I don't ever get a bunch of DMs from girls saying, wow, look at you, Mr. Sexy. But certainly on the opposite end, tons of guys are right.
Dude, it's funny that it's so true. All those the memes that people put out about that. And it's true. And I look back and I'm like, I take my hygiene very serious. Like I like to be clean. It's just something I've always been like very adamant about. Like people, like the acne thing, people are like, oh, how didn't you get acne? I'm like, well, I'm also a little bit like of a clean freak, like scrub myself down. But as you get bigger and you're taking a bunch of gear and eating a ton of food, you have a stench. You do. And I remember, I'll never forget, I was doing incline barbell presses, and I'm probably 245 at this time, just fucking jammed, huge. And I'm like into it. Like I'm sitting there getting ready to do 405 on incline, all pumped up. And I could just smell all my goodness coming from below. And I'm like, Seth, dude, you got a problem, dude. You are a mess. And it's like, and it was because of me just being 245 pounds, sauced, eating a ton, just the seepage of me. I had a stench because I don't smell like that anymore. And it's crazy how it happens on what we think about it. That's that mental thing. You're like, well, if I think I look good, girls will want to fuck me. Well, you're 245 pounds and you can't breathe going up the stairs. I don't know how much they're going to be into you, bud.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to impress the most amount of people, obviously there's a niche of a certain person for anyone.
Oh,
but
yeah.
like if you're trying to attract the most amount of people, you want to look the most amount of normal. And I'm telling you, even men's physique guys, that's just ridiculous amounts of muscle. Like it's gotten so far in the sport that to me, a men's physique guy, I've weighed in and I've stood next to them and I'm like, I'm smaller as a bodybuilder than men's physique at this point. Like, I mean, I was never the hugest guy, but the men's physique guys were bigger than me.
Men's physique guys are big. They're not small. They're big dudes. And I mean, Raymond Edmonds, he's from Pittsburgh. And every time I'd see him, I'm like, Ray, like, you're like a big dude. Like, you're crazy. Like, you're doing physique. You're a big guy. But, and again, I love this sport. I love it. You can't not look at somebody. That's that in the in-person rush that you get from whenever you look great and you get someone that tells you look great. It's unlike anything in the world. And it really, I don't miss competing, but I miss competing because whenever I was on and you step out on the stage and you hear the chatter, you hear people talk about you and you're in front of over 1,000 people, dude, there's not many feelings like that. I couldn't imagine being on the Olympia stage, a top Olympian competitor, and going out on stage and you hear the gasps. Oh my God. Oh my God. You hear that? There is nothing like that. I can only imagine that feeling because I heard it with my conditioning. I couldn't imagine Nick Walker, Big Ramy, Brandon Curry, Phil Heath, Ronnie Coleman, just the gasps. It's incredible. It's got to be a great feeling. And that's the feeling that we chased. And those feelings, there's nothing like it. And that's why the limits are pushed so far. That's why, I keep saying over and over, I'm not judging people based on what they want to do with their life. But if you want to achieve that, there is some shit that goes into it that you are going to pay for later.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. And you know, the funny thing with that, the gas and the looks and the compliments, I said, no matter what level you at, to me, that's the same, because I've gone from the smallest shows and won to the biggest shows type of thing. Jay Cutler said the same thing. Like his favorite show, the most memorable is like the first show, more than the Olympia, because it's your first time experiencing it. Once you've gotten the Olympia title, Chris has won. Once you've gotten the gaps of what mass am I seeing, if you then compete again and you get a little bit less, only 40 people out of the audience screamed, wow, instead of 100, you're like, well, geez, it's not so good. If you're 300 pounds and you lost 50 pounds and you're still 100 pounds overweight, wow, you lost weight. You look great. Oh my goodness, that's amazing, because you've gotten better. But if you go and get worse, that's when it's bad. So in my experience, no matter how good you get, as long as you're improving a little bit. And so when you're dieting for a show, all the endorphins, the dopamine from like weekly, you're looking better, the compliments in the gym, and people are seeing you competing and they're like, how many weeks out are you? 6 weeks. Wow, you look like you could compete tomorrow. You get all that stuff and you feel good about that. And so it's really hard to it's really hard to say, go back to normal. That's the problem, because you can't always get better. You compete to the show, then it's off season, you put on 20 pounds, and then all of a sudden it's throwback Thursday to when I look good. And then that goes on for the rest of the year. And so it's this hit or miss thing, the mental strain, and then you feel fat. You're 12% body fat. You feel fat because you were 5 a month ago. And then it's like a never ending thing.
Let me ask you
eating
this
disorders.
Yeah, that's another one. Eating disorders, dude. There's so many things that come into this. So, like we said in the beginning, we're speaking the same language. How do we continue to inform people about the mental side of this all that? That's the part that's so difficult. Like this is people are having these mental connections with it that are uncontrollable. Like, look at what people do for likes and views and everything. And the game, the internet, all that, but like you have to understand there is a real life side to all of this, and especially these young people. So it's like, how do you get them to understand like this is not going to be easy? Like, I guess we just continue to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I make video after video after video saying, imagine your dream physique, close your eyes, open them. You're not getting it. Halfway there, that's what you can do. And if you over diet, you're going to be hungry, low sex drive, feel like shit. You keep saying it and people just don't want to listen to it. They all keep chasing that because they think if they get it, they're then going to be happy. No one's happy. They think if they get that 6% body fat, abs, they're going to get a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and they're going to be happy. And it's like, no, you're not. If you're not happy now in whatever body you're in, you're not going to be happy because you're skinny. You'll be healthier physically, but you're not going to be somehow mentally better. People keep saying, I did this in my confidence. And I'm like, you should be confident at 300 pounds, the same as if you're 200 pounds, you're just 200 pounds. But people I don't think they understand that they're not going to fix life's problems by losing some weight.
No, it's tough. It is. Like you were explaining about the vehicles earlier, like buying a vehicle, like having money. You thought things were going to be different. You buy a vehicle and you're like, fuck yeah, that was the coolest thing in the world. And then you're like, oh, okay, so I'm still going to work every day and I do drive in a nice car, but maybe I should get a different car. Maybe I should get another one. It's weird how these things occur. And I mean, I think for me personally, like as I've gone through this, like this whole identity crisis and buying things that are just fine. They're just finances. They're just money. Money has just become a tool to me in life. And I'm like, there's something more to all of this. There's something more to life that I want to go after. And I'm starting to figure it out because like, I just had a great weekend with my kids and Hannah, gymnastics, my oldest, she's a level 9 gymnast, which there's only 10 levels in gymnastics. She made it to regionals. My other daughter she doesn't lose. She wins every meet she competes in. And like, I'm like, man, like this doesn't take like a bunch of money to have this feeling. So like for me, like going through my identity crisis there, and I'm looking and I'm like, I still love nice things. I love having my own gym. You have to have money to have your own gym. You have to have money to start your own gymnastics facility, all those. But like, I'm starting to, this later part in my life, I'm realizing that I need to chase things that involves more than just me. that's more than just me as a person. Because if I look in the mirror and like I look great and I'm happy, that's good. Well, how much more can I get out of it? Okay, well, Seth, just do your cardio. You need to be healthy. If I buy this vehicle, like you'll only be happy for 2 days. You bought that vehicle. You bought multiple vehicles. You've wrecked multiple vehicles. They're not about you. There's something more. And what I find out is like me making these videos and me getting the response I did, there's people that are reaching out that said, this is helping me. These young kids that we're doing with gymnastics, it's helping them. Me being with my kids, it's helping them. Like I'm having this realization that it's anything I do that's bigger than just me, that I'm really connecting with, and it's bringing something new to my life. And the only way to get to this point, I do believe, is through experience of all the things that we're talking about. Like, dude, you couldn't talk like this if you didn't do all the crazy powerlifting stuff. You couldn't talk like this if you were never backstage, shredded to the bone, looking at the dude next to you that's a fucking physique guy and going, you're bigger than me. Like, all these experiences matter. And the only reason we have them is because we were doing that wild stuff. And that's why some people are like, you guys are hypocrites. Well, you can think that if you want, but it's not hypocritical if we're accepting exactly who we are, what we've done, and looking back at and looking now at all of you guys and saying, hey, little tip here from the old guys. And the only way to be old and wise is to be young and crazy.
Yeah.
And those young and crazy times.
Speaking of saying that we're hypocrites and whatnot, I often will speak out about how if you're obese, it might not be your fault to have gotten there, but it's your fault for staying there because you can lose weight, calories in, calories out. People are like, Greg, you're a hypocrite because cake and steroids can kill you. And I'll be like, well, obesity can kill you. And I'm like, did I ever say that steroids, taking it can't kill you? And they're saying, you're no different. I'm like, how am I not different? I abused steroids for 10 years. That would be like abusing food for 10 years, becoming 400 pounds for 10 years. Then I came to my senses and I went on a diet and lost the weight. So I came to my senses. I went off the steroids and now I'm on doctor prescribed, from the endocrinologist, HRT. How is that not being how is that hypocritical? I'm telling you, I made a mistake. I did something to ruin my health and I'm trying to make up for it now. If you're overweight, lose the weight and make up for it now. To me, it's the same thing, but yet people say it's, you're being a hypocrite.